Hey, 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 as we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and the day-to-day journey uh is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard for us to see our way through. Beyond the normal mundane and where unscripted dreams live, join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. And we are the Unscripted Dream Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate and inspire our audience. In case you haven't noticed, every episode I literally start off with that verbatim. You would think we would have something previously recorded, but we like to pride ourselves on not doing that. So yeah,
Up to a great start.
my bad, folks. Meanwhile, while we have you, before we really get into stuff, make sure you guys check out our clips on TikTok, what have you, Unscripted Dreams, or even better, YouTube. We got a bunch of content of these actual full episodes and stories and clips and short story clips that can shower you with a bunch of content. Maybe you don't have time to watch a 20-minute episode, but maybe you have time to watch a 3-minute clip, or maybe that's something that you want to share with somebody that resonated with you. So just make sure you check out our page whenever you have time. And yeah, let's keep it moving. So today's episode, man, is literally called Work, Eat, Sleep, Repeat. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. And pretty much with work, eat, sleep, repeat, man, it's all about a routine, coming up with a routine. How do you live your life? Hopefully, I pray to the Lord or whoever you may believe in, that you have some kind of routine or some kind of schedule to knock your priorities out. Maybe through the week, through the months, through the year. Hopefully you got some kind of cycle or some kind of process that works for you where you can keep things moving at a continuous rate on a consistent basis. What is that? What they call that? Consistency is key. Consistency is very much so key. So when I think of that, I think of work-life balance. Um, and I think that would be our first topic, actually, would be work-life balance. So when you actually think of work-life balance, you got to think about like stress relievers, like reducing stress. And, like a healthy work-life balance, helps you actually reduce stress and it prevents burnouts, most importantly. So you people in social services or people in customer service or people that have to deal with, just the general public, and you're in the public's eye and, at any point in time, certain things can go down or can happen or be totally left field where, they might surprise you, that might come into a situation where that wears on you over time just because some of that is not always wholesome incidents. Sometimes it's the opposite. So, finding stress relievers is very important so you don't burn out in those type of fields. You need to recharge, you need to relax, and most importantly, you need to spend time with loved ones, which ultimately leads to increased happiness and satisfaction. So take that in consideration. Uh, Before I dive more into this, how do you feel about work-life balance, Marcus?
So this is one of these great episodes where we don't agree. I don't agree with work life balance at all because I tried it and it doesn't work for me. So um, what it is and how I see it is that it depends on the type of life that you want to have.
Yep.
So when you think about this work cycle, you think about the episode about just like work, eat, sleep, repeat. Like that doesn't sound very eventful as a life in itself. It sounds pretty mundane, pretty boring. I mean, pretty. If you like it basic, that's good for you. But at the same time, when you find that you're trying to, at least that's what I was trying to do. Is that I was someone who worked hard, and I would take these breaks. For example, actually, right now I'm on vacation for my W-2 job, and I'm recording this episode right now today. So clearly, there is no balance. There is no balance when you're pursuing certain endeavors. You're not going to be able to take time off. And if you're having to take time off, which, I've had to do that before where I just needed to take some time off, but I think it's really looking at the kind of the big picture and understanding is that why are you, like Joe was saying, if you're experiencing this kind of like wear and tear over time, like why is that? Why is it that you're experiencing that? And why are you living a life? Like, why? That's what I ask myself is why am I living a life where I have to try to achieve this balance when I can kind of work in a different direction and just kind of, if I'm a burn out, I might as well burn out and have something to show for it,
Right.
like a not like a week of not a week of vacation or 2 weeks of vacation. What is that? I mean, it's it's pretty trash to be honest. But I mean, I like to have more than that. I had the flexibility to do a bit more. So I was actually on Twitter. I was actually on Twitter today, and I saw something. It was something I've been trying to articulate pretty well, but someone's communicated it kind of a lot better than I did. And the individual's name is Rachel Camp. She's I think a certified financial planner. If you are interested in that, but I talk about retiring a lot, and I think, like I said, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase what she kind of shared. And she kind of put that her goal isn't to retire. Her goal is to kind of have ownership over her days and what kind of she wants to do for work, and just kind of work from a mindset instead of working for money. Most people work for money, but what happens when you're free? You're kind of free of that, and you don't have to work for money. You just work and you do the things that you want to do. So, like when we're looking at work life balance, the fact that I'm recording this episode and I'm technically on vacation for a portion of my other responsibilities, I think that says a lot about just what I think about taking time off right now. Because all the time I've taken off hasn't really done me any good. Honestly, it's just more so more time off between me and the goals that I have for myself. So I'm just going to work anyway.
So in other
But
words, if you could put in perspective, you think like taking time off and going on vacation just puts you even further behind.
depends on how you live. Depends
I
on how you
mean,
live.
that's how I look at it, I can agree with you in the sense of like taking time off, like if you really don't need it, then why? Like I'm one of those people where I don't need much, right? So like if I take a day off, I could probably be good for 6 months and work straight just because that's just how I'm wired. Some people can't tolerate that. And we know that. But some people,
Yeah.
take one day off and then they're just like, I'm recharged for the next 6 months. I don't know about you, but I could do this all day, homie. So I get you in that sense.
Yeah. And it's also working depending on the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
There's things I do that it's 100% work, but it doesn't drain me the same as
Right.
when you're doing work that you don't want to do. Like
That's all
that's
the
when you
difference
start
right
to
there.
yeah. So when you're doing work that you actually have an interest in, it doesn't tax you in the same way. So like when I'm doing my research, things like that, I'm looking at investments and I'm doing some of that stuff. Like sometimes I'm tired when I'm doing it, but the fact that there's a synergy there, it makes it easier for me to do. It doesn't drain me because there's an interest there. So it's kind of like it may give me more energy than what it actually pulls away from me. So I think that's another key thing too, is that if you're someone who's looking at work-life balance, it's really taking a look at taking a look at what in your life is kind of giving you energy and what's kind of taking it away. And if your work, which I've had jobs like that, if it's taking too much of a toll on you, then it's something you need to evaluate and maybe take a look at if that work is good for you. And if there's something maybe you can do that there's a little bit more synergy there. But
Okay.
that's
Well,
all.
yeah, that's great, man. Before we move forward, man, this is just the finishing touches I'm gonna put on work-life balance. So when you think of work-life balance, man, think of it like it also boosts creativity. Say you're working hard on something, like Marcus or myself, we probably have three or four or several different projects going on in our brains at one time. And sometimes, one weekend or during the week, you might focus on one thing. And then the next week, you might be focused on something different. However, you may have it divvied up as far as allocating your time. But the whole point is when you have that many projects, that also gives you time to miss some of those projects that you're looking forward to, like seeing from beginning to end. And that boosts creativity just because you're not constantly thinking about it because you're distracted by something else. You know,
Yeah.
you may come up with some kind of alternative idea, you know, to say if you might have like writer's block where you might be, just in a rough, which does happen to everybody from time to time. The next thing would probably be relationships. So this also gives you an opportunity to improve relationships, stepping away from the work and realizing that you need to spend some certain amount of time with certain people just because you don't want to lose certain relationships. You don't want them to be distant. Now, every relationship is different for every person. Like I have friends and my friends know me. Like we may not talk several months on end, but my point, my standpoint of how I view you and how I look at you does not change. It's like right when we just left off, we can pick up right back right there. And I won't think nothing different of it, won't even take it personal because I realize that it's not all about me. You know, you got to make things work for you. And with that mindset, it helps me have more relationships with people just because they understand that I know that it's nothing I should take personal. You know, I'm not clingy by any means. So yeah, we can move forward.
So the next little topic here is you look at you kind of look at the work life balance thing, but at the same time, I think a good question to ask ourselves are why are we doing all this in the first place to begin with? So I think we all have the gift of like, you know, life is the game. Life is like being put in the game and you didn't nobody asked like, coach, I didn't ask you to put me in the game. Like you just show up, you just drop in the game and you playing. That's how life is, right? Because somebody else has made a decision and now we're here. Like we're
Yep.
here. No, there's no discussion. So but 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 I think about like if you ever played the original Grand Theft Auto, I try to look at my life like how the old GTA, it was
Bird's
like
eye
just top
view.
down, yeah, and it was like over, right? And it was, and I think about what my life looks like if someone was looking at me from that view, they would really see somebody get up, take a shower, go sit in front of a computer for like 12, 14 hours a day, and then I would go to sleep. I would eat food and go to sleep. That's how probably 90% of my days go.
That's some
So
Sims. That's a Sim simulator, bro.
yeah. And you think about the Sims, you know, the funny thing about the Sims is that I actually made a note for that, but the funny thing about the Sims is that like it's really like a simulation. That's what the Sims is short. Like that's what that's short for. But you think about it, if you look at your life and just think about the things that you do every day. Like if you go to work, you sit in traffic, you go to work, you hate your job, you go home, maybe you don't want to go home, maybe you do, you know, depends on what's going on there. But you get home, maybe you eat, go to sleep, you get to do something maybe that you enjoy for maybe an hour or two, whatever that is, time with your family, TV, sports, whatever recreational things you're doing, if you even had time for that. You know, even it's like, I mean, some people have more than one job, you know, so it is what it is. But just ask yourself, when I look at that and I look at like, what does that look like? Like, does that look enjoyable to get up, go sit in a cubicle, go sit in the office, look at a computer, go eat and go to sleep and then do it again? Like, what does that look like to you? Like, if you're someone who's doing that, like, how do you feel about that? Really? You know, if you're really looking at it, and that's where kind of just looking at the work life balance thing is that like, why do I want to have a balance if I'm doing stuff that I don't want to do all the time? Like, if my life really looks like that and I'm not happy with it, why am I trying to prolong it and put more balance so I can spend more time in the miserable pieces of my life? That's what the balance does, is that it gives you, it extends the duration of the misery because you can just put your head down, do the work, and then that thing that you do when you're not working looks a lot different. It looks completely different because you kind of just, you know, you kind of took the undesirable pieces of your life, which for a lot of people is work. Show me 10 people. If I walk down the street and I walk and I ask people, do you like your job? I probably say probably 80% of those people say no. I'll be hard pressed to find people, probably vocal people who even really like the work that they do. Because most people I talk to, when they talk about their job, they kind of complain about it or they don't want to talk about it. If they're off work, I don't even ask them about it. They're not interested in it. It's just a means, like means to an end. So, like, why do you? I don't. I just don't see the point in balancing out the misery just to make it just so you can live in that cycle longer. I think maybe the effort should be putting more work into the actions that will free you from this cycle of nonsense, which is what I think it is. But we just accept it because not everybody, but most people do it. So we kind of accept it as normal. But being normal is not the way. It's not the way. Man. But I talked for quite a bit there, Joe. So what are your thoughts there? Um, just on balance, how we view our lives, and just anything you think is applicable or not applicable to what I've been talking about.
Well, when you think of balance, which I feel like what you're trying to get at is like balance can be taboo in a sense where if you don't have certain guidelines for yourself, just by following that term alone could ruin you. If you lack motivation, that can definitely ruin you too. Or, so like say you're working in a dead end job and you're like, this is as good as it's going to get for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope that there's outside factors to where you can tolerate that and, it balances out, right? If it doesn't, then, you know what you need to do. You need to get off your ass and figure something different out. It's always a lot of red tape in between that. But the point is, if you're doing anything in this life, and you're not getting what you want uh, with any effort or amount of effort that you put into this, and you're not getting something back on your return of investment, then you're losing in life. Point blank, period. I mean, if you want to eat a whole bunch of Subway sandwiches and the same Subway sandwich every day at 12:30 p.m. every weekday, be my guest, man. If that's what you want is a meatball sub from Subway, be my guest. But at one point in time, bro, it's gonna get or sis, it's gonna get real redundant and you're gonna want something new. So you always need to find an avenue to change things. It could be the smallest thing that just keeps you going. And for other people that have a hunger for more, obviously the stakes are going to be higher. So if you want to change your whole career or something like that, I'm not telling you you need to drop everything you're doing right now and do that because that's not logical. But that extra time that you have or that time that you do have for yourself, make sure that you come up with a well thought out plan. So say like, okay, I know that I'm in this dead end job and within the next 5 years, my job's going to be non-existent. So how am I going to pivot myself within those next 5 years or sooner? Do some research, you know, look at your social avenues, network, talk to people, find out what you really want to do. That's going to take some time, but at least make a solid commitment into actually making a change or difference. Actually get up off your feet and actually walk the walk. So if you're going to talk about it, and especially if you're going to talk about it and share your ideas or ideations with people, you should be acting on them prior to you actually talking to them about what you're going to do. That's one thing that I think sets some of us successors apart from other people, or that's what doers are. We've already started doing the work prior to actually giving you an idea or ideation of what we plan on doing. Why is it set up like that? I can understand it, but I mean, that's just common sense. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm about to do something if I don't already have it in the works. I mean, that's just how things should go. All in all, though, man, when we think about work, eat, sleep, repeat, work, eat, sleep, repeat, work, eat, sleep, repeat. As we think about it, man, let's take away or let's move away from the work life balance. Let's think about, like even down to like a nutritional thing. Like I said, your body is your number one vessel. Like that's your priority. If your body's right, you're going to be all right. If your body's not right, it's a ticking time. So, even in that sense, having like proper nutrition, like eating a balanced diet, whatever that may look like for you. And, that may help you with your energy levels, your mental capacity to deal with the bull crap in the process of you actually trying to phase out of that job or phase out of a situation you're into. You're going to need certain things to support you so you can get out of certain dead ends. So, just think about proper nutrition. Like there's levels to this, like even sleep. So if you're high on stress, It might be something as simple as taking your ass to bed early. You know, how many people operate off of 4 or 5 hours of sleep? I do, at least for sure, at least 2 or 3 days out of the week. Am I saying that you should do that? Hell no. But does it happen? Absolutely. You might be into a show, you might be into video games, you might be into some kind of craft or project, or you might have a crazy nightlife. Who knows, right? It's none of my business. But getting enough sleep is definitely essential, and that could maybe be the key to your success, especially when it comes to proper nutrition and health. Because you don't want to eat right before you go to sleep. Everybody knows that. Who wants to wake up with a stomach ache? I don't, or at least I get stomach aches before I eat and then go straight to sleep. It's unhealthy. I think another one is mental health priority. Mental health is your number one priority. Like none of this works without you actually having a good head on your shoulders. So whether that's you taking precautions with physical health, like with the eating, but not only with the eating, you're also exercising and working out. Just make it a priority to do self care, like when it's needed. If you need support, don't be hesitate to have accountability partners or anything like that too, to kind of keep you going, to check in with you every few months or so to make sure that you're on course with whatever your goals are. So we said a lot, but in the process, man, I just want you guys to not lose yourself when it comes to work, eat, sleep, repeat. Like, do you really want to live a simulation? Uh, of seeing the same things and doing the exact same things like each day and out. I mean, that's fine. Nothing's wrong with that. But for people that actually have, aspirations or dreams where they're kind of anxious to kind of like see things through in their life, you constantly have to be climbing uphill. And in order for you to climb up and hill successfully, you got to have some of these affairs in order. Otherwise, it ain't gonna work. So, with that being said, man, I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Take care. Be safe.
Yep, so